Brainbuster Boys are brought to you by
Visionaries Global Media, your number one source for podcasting entertainment. Visionaries Global Media, envisioning excellence on a global scale.
Can't stand your mother. This was a song Poppy introduced to me.
Song's great. It's also toxic.
Yeah. When the ass is growing, god damn it, I can't focus right now.
I know.
Hey, I'm not on yet. I'm not all the way on yet.
You know, I just let it roll though. I thought it'd be fine. You ready? Let's do it.
All right. Welcome to the Brainbuster Boys. My name is Brett Jagger, along with Beaumont Rand.
Howdy.
Hi.
Hi.
I thought I'd give you a little bit of a Space Jam
Like a
introduction
Gian.
Gian
Esposito.
Rand.
That's John Rand is actually my great grandfather.
Jorn Rorn?
Yeah, Jordan Rand. Yeah, he's my great grandfather.
How about that?
Not lying.
Well, hey, good to be back. We hope you enjoyed the wonderful conversation we had with Eric and Julia Leewald of the X-Men animated series.
It's apparently still ongoing on our Twitter page.
Oh yeah, you gotta love it.
Yeah, we gotta love it. Thank you all. You all have been they've been wonderful.
Yeah,
engaged with this. Yeah.
Thank you for your continued engagement on Twitter as well at XmenTAS. I realize we are at Brainbuster Boys. I realize we never say our Twitter handle or anything. We're bad at plugging.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're on there. We'll be on Instagram soon. I promise. I've been lazy.
It's not hard to guess, so you can figure it out.
Brainbuster Boys. But yeah, thank you to Eric and Julia and for continuing to engage with us and our listeners. And if you haven't listened to it yet, give it a listen. If you are a fan of X-Men, the animated series, or not, because, I was someone who was just very vaguely familiar with the show, and just a great conversation about, just storytelling and kind of how the show started, and fulfillment of a lifelong dream for you.
Yeah, and think about what a summer we've had, we, started off, we're like, okay, we knew the Marbez interview was coming pretty early on in our show, got that done.
And even before that, we get to come back to AEW.
Yeah, we got to come back to and so we've been able just to do whatever the fuck we wanted, and succeed at doing that. We've had the Marbez interview, and then we whooped the Limelight interview in with them, and then the Leewalds, which was another thing.
Leewald.
Then the Leewalds. Lord have mercy. Then the Leewald interview, which has been a thing since, Hit Watch time, as we said there.
December probably.
Yeah, so we've ticked all those boxes off. We've since our kind of whole big saga with WWE, kind of things have been pretty good, man. Not gonna lie, it's been a great summer,
and it ended on a good note with Vince. So I mean, at least that wasn't a door that somehow didn't end up shut to us.
No, I mean, the WWE thing is obviously something that we are dealing with in a very particular way that I don't know about. But let's not talk about it, okay? Because we've had a good last week. My sister got married.
Yes.
And
you're gonna be going out of town next week.
Oh yeah, I'm going on a little vacation, everybody. You'll hear about it on our Twitter at Brainbuster Boys if you didn't.
Yeah, if you didn't know that's our Twitter handle. Yeah, it's at Brainbuster Boys.
Yeah. So, hey, guy from Christopher Nolan's Memento.
Hey.
Tattoo that on you.
Hey.
But, anywho.
So, with that, I've been thinking, do we just take the week off, which we've done before when we've just had shit going on. But I've had a thought of just maybe, bringing in our first BBB guest host. What would you think about that?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
we'll see.
Dude, we could take a shit on the road and it turns into ice cream.
Oh, fuck. Well, I could take a dump in a box and mark it guaranteed, but
yeah, that and
But we'll see. I mean, I may want the break to, I may relish the time off, but I also love this and talking about wrestling, so we'll see.
We'll figure it out. We will be us, which is a good thing. And another great thing, I guess let's talk about what you're about to hear and what you probably saw that we've announced.
Oh, yes.
With, we're very excited to be welcoming in a good friend of another box a promise that we made.
Yes, and are keeping.
Yep.
And just a wonderful, wonderful human being and cat dad and wrestling executive, Mr. Joe Koff.
Oh, this is going to be
from
fun.
Ring of Honor, our good friend.
I'm
our
honored.
Great buddy. You
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
I mean, this is a podcast of honor here.
Yeah. Not just a podcast like Bishop TW takes.
No, but toxic wrestling takes. And speaking of toxic, fucking Pellegrini.
Yeah, well, anywho, so it's going to be exciting.
But yes, yeah.
Like with Joe Koff too, I feel like, like remember, you think back in episode 14 where it was like, I don't know. We've come a long way, and I'm glad we get to honor our commitment with him and bring him on our show.
Yeah, and again,
like,
if you do recall back to that time, for a while we thought he was maybe our only option, and he'd kind of always had our back every step of the way, and has just been such a gracious, good guy, and feeds his cats, and is just just an overall good dude, jolly dude. We love talking to him, and it's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun. I mean, we have been smooth sailing through this summer, and
with Joe, just kind of want to give you a little. So we're just gonna kind of talk the history of Ring of Honor and really kind of teach you about it, because I know you don't know too much about Ring of Honor, and a lot of guys you see today in WWE, NXT, AEW. Made their way through there at some point.
And they have like Hot Sauce Tracy Williams.
Oh yeah, and we'll talk
fancy.
about the current stuff as well, and their most recent Best in the World show. We'll hear directly from Joe about that, and we're gonna do our If You Recall, a Ring of Honor match. It's going to be the main event of Final Battle 2018, the ladder war between the Briscoes, the Young Bucks, and SCU, which is Christopher Daniels and Kazarian, which it's both SCU and the Young Bucks' last match before going to AEW, so a nice bridge from Ring of Honor to AEW. And as of this recording, we have not watched it yet, and I've never seen it. And
I've definitely not seen it.
I know it's one of Joe's favorite matches, so we are very excited, and I'm sure it's going to be a brutal war.
Yeah, it's going to be a brutal war, and we're going to be enlightened by Joe.
And there will be just so much honor.
Yeah, no, I'm honored.
I'm honored.
Yeah,
Joe's tight.
Yeah, he's cool. I'm trying to find a way to work Ring in there.
Huh?
I'm trying to find a way to work Ring because we've been talking about honor.
Oh.
I could easily work the word of in there.
Yeah.
That's just
We'll just keep that in there.
Cool.
And then lastly, I know you may not be happy about this, but I feel like we owe Greg Goldman a call. It's been a couple weeks now. We said we'd give him a couple weeks, go through the anger management, just checking in. No offers, no certainties. Like, are you curious at all to hear how he's doing, or do you even just care?
Oh, of course I am. I mean, obviously, this is a part of us, and us is really important. And so kind of hoping that he kind of went through what he went through, if he's going to be a part of this, if this is what you want, if this is what we want, then, we got to make it work as good as everything else has. So, I'm trying to, I thought about stuff, and let's see if there's a new Greg.
Let's see if there's a new Greg, and if there's not, then he's gone. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
I'm genuinely curious to hear from him. I hope he's doing okay. But yeah, we'll check in with him here later on in the show. Are you ready for AEW Dynamite Fighter? Nope. Fight for the Fallen.
Why do they put them back to back too?
I
That's
don't
really
know.
confusing.
Fighter Fest Night 1, Fighter Fest Night 2. I'm saying Fight for the Fallen.
I guess they had to do Fighter Fest because it was music festival theme.
Yeah. Well, so these were their two in 2019. They did Double or Nothing was the first show on pay-per-view. Then they did free I think it was Fyter Fest, Free, Fight for the Fallen, and then it was All Out. So those were kind of the two bridge shows in between. So that was the second and third AEW shows ever. So I think they want to keep that, keep the names. And But yeah, it is interesting doing it back to back.
But they do it around the same time of each year?
Yeah, they were like summer last year. But there was probably a month in between, or 2019, I mean. But anywho.
It's the same thing with, what was it, FTW and FTR?
Yeah.
You know?
And Brian Cage and Ethan Page
and Sage Alvarez
and Nick Gage and all the Pages and Cages, Christian Cage. But yeah, anywho, shall we?
Yeah,
let's do it.
Here we go.
And oh my God, as they're opening and running through the lineup of the show, and they say Nick Gage and Chris Jericho are going to main event. I'm like, holy shit! They're going to open with the 10-man elimination tag, and that's sure what happened. I just figured it would main event because to me, it's the biggest fucking thing going on right now. But if you're not going to main event with it, you should start with it, and that's what they did.
Yeah, and we go right into that video.
We just watched it right before this recording. I watched it earlier today and was getting mild goosebumps. But yeah, just the Dark Order intro with Hangman as the cowboy and kind of
like the Sam Elliott, it wasn't Sam Elliott, but like
a narrator.
The similar, voice,
and the music to me reminded me of like the Kill Bill theme, which is my favorite movie, collectively 1 and 2, But it was Hangman's song, but it just gave me that feeling. And yeah, it showed each of the guys and talking about the story and showing more highlights. And yeah, it was just awesome.
Yeah, no, I loved it. I mean, like, definitely got you ready, got you behind these guys, made you believe that they were going to win. Yeah, I mean, followed through on the video, followed through on like the individual spotlights, and then the Hangman horses with like the purple background.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is really like the first time where aesthetically he's with the Dark Order.
Correct.
Like he's been with them in person and allied, but like, and has he done the
Well, so he's still doing like kind of his thing, but not like that, you know. So theirs is more the claw. His is almost kind of like an L, but but not to that degree.
Right.
The first time he's worn purple, which I loved it. Just that jacket with the roses, which was referenced a while ago on Being the Elite.
Yeah.
I think Silver like drew it or Hangman drew it. I don't remember exactly, but and then they referenced it last week where they gave him a box and he couldn't see, whatever. But yeah, amazing stuff. Great intro. And then there's the Elite, who I enjoyed the very first part of this, just the straight up kind of basketball intro, and both the Young Bucks were listed as 6'6", and like that's funny.
Yeah.
And it was different, but it's like when they come out and they have the Space Jam gear on, and then you realize that's what they're gonna wrestle in.
Well, and it's also like a Warner property.
Yeah.
Which like obviously we talked about how the Space Jam movie got eviscerated for being just a big Warner Brothers IP fest, and then you heard Excalibur say like, watch Space Jam: A New Legacy on HBO. So like, but like this actually plays into it pretty good because I think it was supposed to be kind of annoying and long.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I think these heels are like really digging into just being annoying
for sure.
And like
goofy, goofy,
yeah.
clown, annoying.
Yeah. They come out to that real Space Jammy song and it lasts a really long time. And it just was kind of lame. But
the highlight was Callus in shorts.
Yeah, that was pretty cool with his clipboard.
Just hilarious.
Well, I think Cutler had the clipboard.
No, I think Callus did.
Yeah,
who went
did.
to commentary, obviously. So then they basically, let's just say it. Much to my shock, the Elite defeat Hangman Page and the Dark Order in 25 minutes and 35 seconds. Do we just want to, let's just start by just talking about the ramifications of this, because I know you've got some thoughts.
Yeah.
I've certainly got some thoughts, and then we'll run through the match, but just quickly, Hangman ends up 1-on-3 against the Young Bucks and Kenny. He takes out Matt, and then Kenny ends up V-Trigger and One Wing Angel after Hangman puts up a hell of a fucking fight. But yeah, Hangman loses, the Dark Order loses. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, like I said to you before we recorded this was definitely not the most satisfying decision, but this is the more interesting decision.
Sure, yeah.
And my teacher at my MFA creative writing program always told me that, when in doubt, like, you make the most interesting decision. So I understand that.
Yes.
I know it kind of hurts. I know it kind of, like, after all that video and all that build up.
The weeks,
It's a gut punch. It certainly is probably meant to be one of those.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so like now, I guess a lot of people I think are acting like all the steam's gone out of the story. And here's what I think. I think there is a figure, somebody yet to be involved in this story that's going to be a major player.
Okay.
That's going to help Hangman get that back.
Okay.
Somebody I don't think it's going to be with the current personnel.
Do you
or
know
cast
who
of
that
characters.
is, or have
No, I
thought
don't.
of who
No,
that is?
no, I don't. I mean, could it be Moxley's already involved in obviously we'll talk about what he's involved in later. But could it be Kazarian? Could it be Kingston?
Yeah,
could it
I feel like those two make the most sense given their history with the Elite.
But yeah, I do think
that's I dig it.
Yeah, I think somebody from the outside is going to get involved in this and going to help Hangman get his title shot at All Out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I dig it. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm upset by the decision, but I'm going to give a little Goldman to you that in my mind it's slightly illogical booking for now.
Okay.
I think this could very well end up great, and it will, I have so much faith in Tony Khan that this will end up great.
Well, do you think Tony Khan could get involved?
Potentially.
Could he actually step in as a character?
Potentially.
And do this be sort of the heel? Yeah, because obviously, the Young Bucks and all the Elite, they're they're the new corporate.
Yes.
They're the corporate,
You're
but
right.
not with the name. And the whole Space Jam thing, it being a Warner property, Warner being a Turner thing.
Yep.
That's
very well.
That all lines up with that whole ethos.
He has been pretty outspoken of not being a character, but again, you never know. And I'd even heard something where he said the stuff he and Shivani were doing on Impact was he loved it, but he didn't really want to do that on his show. But I think that's an interesting thought. What I was going to say is I'm fine with the loss, and I know it's going to build to something greater.
Right.
What I don't want to happen is for Kenny to not face Hangman at All Out. I think that match has to happen now, win or lose for Hangman, and I still think Hangman will lose, whether it's now or down the line, but that match, it's so hot right now, and we just saw this match, and week after week, the crowd is losing it, and it's the most exciting thing going on in wrestling in years, I think, on American weekly television. And could they still do it at Full Gear and it be amazing and work? Absolutely. But who's Kenny going to face it All Out? Christian? With a month of build, with no prior backstory?
Yeah, but with no backstory that's going to create the potential for a win. At least Orange Cassidy, at the triple threat, kind of comes out of nowhere, and that Orange is so popular that maybe there's the chance that they could, lean into that corner.
But just shoehorning Christian in there now when they've been building this for a month already, or whomever it may be. I'll tell you, it's not going to be Daniel Bryan yet. It's not going to be CM Punk yet. But as long as they get to that match at All Out, I'm fully on board. And they can do it a million different creative ways from now until then.
So what way do you think it will be? In your mind, what's the best way?
I honestly don't really know. Mm-hmm. They could do another tournament, number one contender tournament, but that's kind of lame.
Well, who then becomes the number one contender now?
I don't know who it is now, because that's the other thing. Technically, the stipulation was Hangman falls out of the top 5 with this loss.
Right,
so
and I have no idea who would be behind him.
I don't follow the rankings that closely.
Because it's not Jungle Boy. Would it be
Yeah, Jungle Boy and Orange are probably still in the mix. I really
Pac.
don't know.
Ray Phoenix already lost to him. Not Cody.
Yeah, we don't follow the rankings. Yeah. Anywho,
who gives
I
a fuck
really
about
don't
rankings?
know, and I haven't thought about it that much because I don't know. I'm just still. Again, I'm okay with the decision. It's just I was shocked more than anything, which is a good thing. Well, I like being surprised in wrestling. And again, like I said, I trust these guys, and I know it's all going to be fucking beautiful whenever, however we get there.
Well, and you take a risk I think a lot of people probably thought how we thought that they were going to win, and to open your show up with that loss.
I dig it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah, and I thought that the crowd was still recovered, But yeah, I think let the speculation begin.
For sure.
Like I said, this is the more interesting decision.
Absolutely.
And I do think with you have Revolution, you had all the criticism that went in toward the end of that.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are, with that happening, I think they are gonna, continue to emphasize they need to have these matches that they're in. I think I would be shocked if they didn't have Hangman.
I would be
fight
too.
Kenny, even after this too, because people are talking about it.
And we've got a month. Over a month. We've got basically 5-6 weeks to get there.
Yeah.
Plenty of time. But yeah, how are they going to do it? I don't know. Haven't spent enough time thinking about it, and I kind of don't want to speculate. So, but I'm excited. No matter what, just fucking strap me in. I'm still in.
Yeah, but next week will be interesting to find out because, obviously they're not going to abort the plot for next week. Yeah.
They may be a little separated for a bit, but yeah, I mean, there's many different ways.
Well, and then now we have Rampage coming up.
Yep.
So that means there's going to be double the chances, for or double the opportunities for plot movement.
Yep.
So,
yeah, I'm riveted still, no matter what. Just was very surprised, and yes, as a fan, I was bummed. Which again, these are the best times when it gets you worked up this much. And I've been loving this shit for the majority of my life, and when it drums up this much emotion in you, whatever, that's when it's hitting the hardest.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about it each of the last 3-4 weeks. This is the best story. I'm fucking hooked.
Yeah.
And just that intro video, man, all of it. Just, I love it and just can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah. A lot of pageantry and defeat. So I think, there's got to be some sort of, payoff that's festering. That we're
and it's not like they're booking this week by week. They've had this laid out for a while, and they know what they're doing. So I trust, and I know it's going to be great.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I feel like we've been talking for a while and haven't even mentioned a thing about the match. So let's just, not even going to go through all of it, but just go through some kind of big spots. In the beginning, Alex Reynolds was the first one eliminated, basically after they did the 4 simultaneous suplexes together, and then Reynolds suplexed Nick Jackson outside onto everyone, and they kind of did the domino fall. And then they did the Silver and Reynolds, that stunner German suplex, really fast, crazy combo. But then Reynolds got rolled up by Carl Anderson for our first elimination.
Yes, that was the first one.
And then somehow it ended up everyone in the Dark Order surrounding Anderson, and nobody else was around.
I know,
all of a sudden.
Yeah. I think that they needed to get him out really quickly. The Doc Gallows one was kind of a group effort.
That was him and Stu.
Yeah. But that one just kind of seemed a little that they needed to kind of get those guys out.
Yeah, they all kind of took turns hitting them, and then Uno and Stu did their move, the Fatality. And I did notice that Kenny was up and at ringside and easily could have made the save. Obviously he's not, but was literally right there, and it's almost he had to walk away because he was so close. It just geeked me out.
This match had really good moments. It was a little kind of in terms of the potential for save stuff was a little sloppy.
It wasn't a 5-star match by any means. It could have been better, but it was still really good and really fun.
No, it hit all the emotional beats it needed to.
Exactly. I had a fucking blast watching this still. But yeah, you mentioned Gallows. Stu had a moment where he was looking awesome in this match, and he ended up doing that twisting dive outside and slammed his head on the ground, kind of overshot everyone. Yeah. And I remember Silver, you could see, was going up to him you okay? And he was fine. Then he and Gallows all of a sudden are in the crowd, and Stu is just going nuts. Our boy Beef, as we used to call him.
Oh yeah.
And then he and Gallows get counted out. So then it is basically 3-3 at this point. And then Uno came in, and he hadn't really done a whole bunch, but he had got some nice moments in with Kenny in there.
Right.
Hit a nice slam, but then pretty quickly Kenny hit him with the V-trigger and the One-Wing Angel, and he was out.
The match began.
And then, exactly. And now it's 2-on-3, and we kind of talked about, we thought it would be Hangman and Silver, at least 2 on, at the end for the Dark Order. So game on. And right before the commercial, here's our first subtle CM Punk reference, or not so subtle. Nick Jackson hits the running knee into the corner into the Bulldog, which is just a move he would always do.
Yeah.
The first of many CM Punk references on this show. we get back from the break, and Silver is just going berserk.
Yeah.
He's running and kicking everyone and just doing all the things we miss John Silver doing. Just one of those insane flurries of moves where he's going 100 miles an hour
for sure,
and just
yeah.
killing everyone.
Yeah. Just whooping the Young Bucks' ass.
Hell yeah!
He whooped him!
He hits that airplane spin on Nick, and haven't even mentioned this yet, but this crowd the whole time was smoldering. Like, they were going nuts the whole and it just made it that much more exciting, and especially when Silver really got going. And then we get definitely the lamest part of the match to me when the Young Bucks hit their Indie Taker move onto Silver on the outside, and Nick tried to dunk the basketball.
Fuck that shit, okay.
And missed. Yeah, that was so dumb.
Well, I had a big conversation with Borship Todor Torques.
Okay, yeah.
And, I was talking to him, and he was like, I get the Young Bucks, they're like clowns and stuff, but sometimes they're missed dunks, and I was like, I feel you, man.
Yeah.
But I was like, have you ever tried dunking on a 7-foot goal? You miss shit all the time, bro. I love him, though.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you,
but yeah,
Bishop.
that was just pretty lame, I thought, even beyond heeldom. Then... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to just express agreement.
Yeah, and then the Bucks hit the BTE trigger on Silver, and he's gone, and it's 1-on-3. And then now I know, okay, he's not winning this match. They're not going to do this. But then in my mind now, I'm like, okay, now Hangman's got to pin Kenny.
Yeah.
And then the Elite still win, because then that would justify the singles match.
Uh-huh.
But that did not happen. But this was just such an awesome sequence. Again, Hangman was just getting the shit beaten out of him here. Double super kicks, triple super kicks, V-triggers. He's kicking out of everything.
Yeah.
And the crowd is losing it. Cowboy shit going nuts. There's a 450 splash by Nick. He ends up clawing back, hitting a double clothesline on the Bucks, and then his signature top rope moonsault onto the outside. And then he ends up hitting a double buckshot on the Bucks, and he gets the pin on Matt, which is great because he and Matt have had this thing going on. So yeah, fuck Matt. And then Kenny picks up the AEW belt, and referee Rick Knox takes it away. Nick Knox.
Nick rocks.
Nick rocks. Hell yeah. And then he grabs another one of his belts, and Hangman's able to hit the Deadeye, which I'm like, in my mind, maybe there's a chance he pins him, but no, he does not. And then Nick kind of grabs his leg, and Kenny ends up clocking him with the second belt, which gets a very, very close near fall, very exciting kick out. But then 2 V-triggers into the One-Winged Angel, and that's that. And we've already talked about it all. You got anything else to say?
No. I guess overall, this match, hit the right emotional beats it needed to hit.
Yes.
And it had the subversion at the very, with the 1-on-3 where you kind of knew.
Yep.
It wasn't the most technically clean execution of that, and
No.
I read on the recap that I read that AEW doesn't try this 5v5 eliminator match very often.
Yeah.
So
I don't think they've done
have they not?
big elimination
like
match
a classic
like
one.
that. Yeah.
So it was a little sloppy at times in terms of its kind of the ebb and the flow and who got out when and stuff like that and how they got out. But ultimately it hit the right emotional beats, and it was both satisfying and killing this word to death, but interesting.
Very much.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
good.
yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I really enjoyed the match. Again, it was, not the best match in the world, but just very compelling, very exciting, especially when it got to the 2-on-3 point. And Hangman just looked incredible. Just doing it all. What a performance. The guy's just one of the best in the world right now, and I just can't wait to see him get the belt as you pour yourself a glass of
whiskey,
Hangman whiskey there.
Hangman Kentucky Tavern whiskey.
So then we get Pac interviewed by Alex Marvez with no Penta or Phoenix because apparently some anonymous individual canceled their car from the airport. I guess they couldn't get an Uber.
Oh, they couldn't. Yeah, I wonder who that is.
I wonder.
Yeah.
In comes Andrade and Chavo, and they say they ordered a limo for them.
Yeah.
And
His pack is a broke ass.
yeah.
He just can't afford one. Like, did he just get a yellow cab? And they were like, "This won't do.
Yeah.
This won't do
Yeah,
one
like
bit."
this story could have been a little better. Couldn't get a ride from the airport.
I do think it's at least an interesting take, other than Andrade being like, "I'm gonna whoop your," like trying to pull them away from Pac.
Yeah, I agree.
Because that's interesting, and like I could see like their wrestling styles sort of meshing with what Andrade does a good bit. But yeah, I mean, this is an interesting thing for them to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, the execution, obviously.
I just can't wait to see the matches. I don't know. I imagine one of them's going to happen at All Out. Maybe Pac and Andrade's kind of seemed like the one they're building the most, maybe. But
yeah, and I think like one, if not both of those guys are going to like turn.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
And join Andrade. I mean, it would make sense to give him someone else and another luchador, but I don't want to see it happen.
Yeah, I don't want to see it happen, but I think like that. At least looking at it, the principle of like the more interesting.
You think?
Penta, like, at least has been involved in the most drama, I feel like, with Eddie Kingston and stuff. Ray Phoenix is just like a good wrestler.
Penta's
who's like there.
more the natural heel.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. So I think Penta could. And Ray Phoenix is just kind of more of the, I'm here to wrestle.
Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, it's exciting stuff. And then we get Taz looking like he's on the old Bad News Barrett podium, getting ready to introduce Ricky Starks, the new FTW world champion. And they come out, and there's the big band playing, and they got the roses.
The New Orleans Jazz.
Yep.
Is what it is. Swanky.
And why don't you give us a good old-fashioned hook look?
Hook look? Oh, okay. So he was in his classic wife beater thing, but I don't know. He had like the really big white boy biceps that were
He's looking more jacked by the week.
Oh, Lord. He looks like the fucking, high school football edge rusher who, who the coach fed too much creatine. Like he's got like his girlfriend, that he's got his arm around all the time, in the hallway at the dance, and it's just like,
hell yeah,
I don't know, that's kind of Hook right now, like the Gen Z version of that.
Yeah. Well, as Don Callis from New Japan in 2018 would have said, he's added 15 pounds of lean muscle, Kevin. He's shredded.
Well, I think like he sort of drowned himself in his hoodies, and now he's
he's not a very big guy. He's pretty lean, but he's just jacked.
Yeah, he's jacked.
Right
he's
now.
He's not very tall. And I mean, I guess there's part of me that thinks like, well, like, can he not talk? Is he like?
He said very few words.
Yeah. Is he like a lot like? I have a hard time believing he's like lying in wait for like some sort of like big explosion. Like, oh, here's Hook, everybody.
But you think he's gonna wrestle at some point?
Yeah, he is. But I think like he just is still in the fucking like larva or the pupa stage.
Yeah.
Like
I think he's a pretty big phenomenon on Reddit these days.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of a half joking, half serious way. But people want themselves some Hook.
Well, yeah,
and I agree.
And also,
we've been compelled.
We have been compelled, and but by his look, by his sort of vague,
just all of
Final Fantasy character, looking thing.
Yep.
He could play Cloud in a movie. But anywho, so then Ricky Starks says one of my favorite lines of the show.
Let's hear it.
He's like, Powerhouse Hobbs is out recruiting.
Yeah.
It's like, what is he, like a fucking college football coach? Is he like
I
out
thought
there?
that was curious as well. Yeah.
It's like, is he like going into people's parents' house, sitting down for dinner?
You should join Team Taz.
Yeah, you should join Team Taz.
It's great.
Taz will be your surrogate father here at AEW. Come on, like, son of a bitch.
Well, not only that, he said Hobbs would love this, but he's out recruiting. Yeah, I can't believe that didn't come up on the group text last night.
But like, what happened with Because obviously, like,
I don't know what's going on.
If something bad happened, I feel like it would be recognized.
We would have heard about it.
Yeah. So I think it's got to be something like really trivial.
I mean, it could just be took the week off or whatever.
Yeah. Like some really dumb.
But yeah, he was out recruiting. So Starks basically, this guy Starks is a fucking.
Oh yeah, he was popping off.
He's great. Love him. Always have. Always
like
will.
A geyser.
He says, he's been the glue and the anchor of Team Taz. He's solved problems that Cage caused. He's just firing on him. Cage didn't check on him when he hurt his neck, and he's selfish. Starks knows how to be a star. Duh. which Cage has never been for 17 years. And of course, here comes Cage.
Yeah.
And he fucking hammers two of the guys in the band, and it just geeked me
He
out.
takes the drum and puts it over someone's head
Yeah.
like it's Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
And then my favorite thing, he goes up and grabs the trombone
Yep.
and like snaps it over his leg. And so to our text thread, I text Micah. I'm like, Micah, how do you feel about that brass instrument destruction? He's like, that's $1,500 gone.
Great answer.
Great answer too, because I had no idea brass instruments were there.
Me
But it makes
neither.
perfect sense though.
Yeah, I didn't either.
You know, like those have to be kind of expensive to, it's metal shit.
But Micah's so toxic.
He's disgusting.
He was so toxic on that thread last night.
Well, I mean, it was 2 days after he got out of jail, so he had a lot to.
Yeah.
I don't know. Drunk idiot.
Yeah. So, and then, basically Starks ran away like heels do.
Yeah, and we're if Babyface Cage is midnight, we're at about 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'd say.
But yeah, this was a fun segment, and it looks like they're going to have another match, perhaps at All Out, probably before.
Yeah.
But fun stuff. And then we get a video promo from the Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Love it. His second time having like a video on Dynamite. One of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Says he's won a lot of titles, but he's never won the IWGP US title, and he is going to challenge the winner of Lance Archer and Hikuleo. Your thoughts? I know you love I don't think you've seen any of his matches.
No, I haven't seen that.
I don't believe.
Like obviously, like what I read on TJRWrestling.net. Which
Nice play, yeah. Shout out to John Canton and the wonderful folks at TJR Wrestling. One of the first wrestling websites I really got into.
Yeah, no, really helpful.
Yeah, we will always read your weekly recaps when we take notes.
Well, it helps me seem competent, and
yeah.
no, that seems pretty exciting. And especially in light of the Archer's current match this week, which we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, so I wish the match would be in AEW, but they said...
It is New Japan, right?
Yeah, but I think it's going to be at Resurgence, which is a show in America. But it is technically a New Japan match, but we will have more on that here shortly. And then we go to FTR defeating Santana and Ortiz in an abrupt 11 minutes 9 seconds. I really was starting to enjoy this match and get into this match, but the abrupt ending, I didn't even realize it last night because we had the text thread. I'd had a few drinks, had a couple edibles, there was a lot of things going on, and didn't notice Cash Wheeler's injury last night, which is what led to... I'm looking at my phone.
They had to improv it, which led to the Brainbuster conclusion.
Which the Brainbuster finish, which you gotta love. I think that's the first match we've seen end on a Brainbuster.
Oh yeah, which it was Santana, right, who was done to?
Correct.
Yeah, which
Harwood onto Santana.
Which he sold that like it was the Brainbuster to end all thought, to end existentialism. Period.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun match. Just unfortunate. We hope Wheeler's okay. I didn't see it, but you said there's a pretty grotesque picture.
Yeah, there's a pretty
of his elbow.
Kevin Ware-esque, like that. We're like
Was it? I guess it was just like a big cut, right?
Yeah.
He hit the corner.
But you God, I hate to describe this, but you can see like the white of the bone, like with the Kevin Ware injury.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people out there have seen it.
It wasn't as much of it was, but
just a freak thing. Yeah, that's unfortunate, and we've been looking forward to this match for such a long time. I'm wondering if it was I'm sure it was supposed to get at least a few more minutes. I don't know where they would have cut time from in this show, but yeah, it was fun. Just unfortunate, and I'm sure we're gonna see it again at some point. But who knows how long Wheeler's gonna be out? Ortiz and Wheeler started the match, and it was solid. But I feel like things really picked up with Santana and Harwood.
Yeah.
And yeah, Santana, I felt like was just really had the fire this whole match and hit a lot of suplexes, and I feel like there were a ton of power bombs in this match. Yeah. One thing I love that Harwood does, the old Bret Hart, and actually Jim Ross even referenced it when he gets thrown into the corner and he runs sternum first into the turnbuckles, which nobody does that anymore. Love that. Then he got kind of flipped over. Ortiz had a powerbomb into a Santana frog splash that was pretty nice. But yeah, overall, I thought this was just a very solid back and forth match that could have been much better than it was. But unfortunately, the injury to Cash, and I hope he's okay. It has a speedy recovery, and that we can see this match to its fullest. Because I've said it before, I wish they could get 20 minutes and just slug it out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was just kind of quite unfortunate that injury happened, which it looked very grisly.
Also interesting, I thought Santana and Ortiz would win, potentially setting up, now knowing that the Dark Order lost and aren't going to challenge, potentially setting up Santana and Ortiz versus the Bucks.
Yeah. I guess I've also noticed with Inner Circle v Pinnacle matches, there's an ebb and a flow. Like, I feel like not one stable wins, like all their like matchups on a Dynamite.
Yeah.
Like you never see Inner Circle sweep it.
Gotta
You never see
keep
the
it
Pinnacle.
even.
Yeah, usually one wins one and another wins another. So, obviously that prefaces what happens later. But anywho.
But yeah, interesting to see what will happen and who will challenge the Young Bucks at All Out. I mean, again, I guess they could still do a Dark Order thing, but we'll see. I thought Santana and Ortiz would have made sense as baby faces, as we've talked about before.
Yeah.
And then we get a very brief Dr. Britt Baker DMD promo with Tony Schiavone.
And apparently she was hurt in the last match.
And broke her arm, allegedly, or that could just be a lie. Because she's a heel. Kind of. I doubt it anymore. But yeah, this was fun. It was brief. She mentions the arm. Obviously, it's not a bad enough injury for her to give up the title or anything like that, which is good. But unfortunate that it seems like Britt has had now 3 or 4 like pretty major, quote unquote major injuries in her tenure. So,
well, maybe they'll sit her out and I think we're heading for a Thunder Rosa match.
Absolutely,
and All Out.
yeah. Well, again, if she can even wrestle it all out, I don't know if it's really a broken arm. Probably keep her out a little longer than 5 weeks. So maybe they do a number 1 contenders match there if Britt can't go. But and then we get the announcement of the first dance. August 20th, Rampage at the United Center, which I guess is noteworthy. And I knew it's been a while, but Azar said something on the group text about it being the first wrestling show at the United Center. I think he said...
They're usually at DePaul's Arena or Rosemont.
Yeah, Rosemont's one they're at a lot. Since
which
like 99 or 2000. It's been a long time.
Well, that's good because at least DePaul's Arena is downtown. Rosemont's way the fuck out.
Yeah.
Which sucks. You got to take the L all the way out there.
And the United Center is kind of just in the middle suburban area.
So that or DePaul's Arena are always fine with me.
Yeah, but I just didn't realize it had been that long. And obviously, CM Punk is from Chicago. CM Punk chants all over the place. This seems to be... I mean, they could be trolling a little bit, but this seems to be the spot that they're going to debut him.
I think it's impossible for them to be trolling.
I know.
You cannot, fan the internet flames to get this big. Just to have blue balls.
So the only
that, you cannot do that as a company.
The troll job would be to debut him at All Out, which is also in Chicago, is what I mean. He's coming.
Gotcha.
He is coming.
Yeah, him.
But it's going to be at one of those 2 shows.
Well, and Daniel Bryan too. It's you would have to snuff that out.
Absolutely.
From a PR standpoint.
Which that's rumored to happen at the Arthur Ashe New York show. That seems to be when he's going to debut.
The Goldman show
Goldman
in Queens.
Classic, yeah. But yeah. Even more, they doubled down on it with Darby's promo right after, basically saying, a lot of people claim to be the greatest, and there's only one place to do it, and that's right here in AEW, even if you think you are the best in the world, which is what CM Punk claimed to be all the time.
Which this is a good wrestler for him to come in with, with Darby and Sting. Yep. That makes a lot of sense.
And apparently he had said on... Renee Paquette's podcast, which is Moxley's wife, that if he were to ever come back to wrestling, that Darby Allin is one of the guys he would want to
that's
wrestle.
really cool.
Apparently, I read that somewhere.
That's rad. Yeah, no, I think that'll be a fun match.
So yeah, if he comes at the first dance, there's a possibility that match could be at All Out, and that means there's a possibility that he could be at the September 8th Dynamite here in Cincinnati. So, yeah, there's a chance we may get to see CM Punk here, which would be just fucking fantastic.
No, it would be wonderful. I mean, man, it's just right down the street from University Avenue where I've made millions of bets.
We could walk. We'll probably pregame at your crib and walk over there. It'll be great.
Gregory Boyesco.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of who's there, can't fucking wait for that. CM Punk is coming, though, and it's going to be wonderful.
Yes.
And then we get Lance Archer defeating Hikuleo in 7 minutes, 16 seconds in a match Jim Ross referred to as Bowling Shoe Ugly. That's about all I got.
Well, I think one thing that really did it in beyond the ugliness of what occurred in the ring was the fucking picture-in-picture.
The commercial.
Yeah. I think, just wedging that right in the middle of it.
And it's only a 7-minute match.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It killed everything. And, Archer's going to win it. That going into it. But it just, took any sort of dramatic air out of it.
Agreed.
And, I think, production-wise...
As Azar said, the commercials were the biggest heel last night.
Exactly.
There were 2 in the first match, which we didn't even mention. Yeah. Just poorly timed. They could have found a way to move that commercial to show all 7 minutes of that match.
Yeah. These commercials made this a 7 to 7.5 show versus a 8 to 9.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. So again, the match wasn't terrible, but we only saw probably 4 minutes of it. There wasn't a ton of fluidity, but I feel like they worked hard and. It was a lot of just clotheslines and kicks and punches.
Big dude match.
Yeah. I mean, hell, Hikuleo is 6'10". Archer's about 6'8". But yeah, we at least got to see the Archer rope walk into the moonsault, which is always fun, and then he ends up hitting the blackout on the second attempt, and that is that. And then we get our good buddy, Marvez, trying to interview Cody at his fancy... we're keeping that.
Fancy.
At his fancy EVP chair, and quickly comes Malachi Black, attacking him. And interesting to note that when Cody was landing some punches, he was getting booed, and Black was getting cheered.
Cody was profusely booed.
Yeah.
Which it's kind of interesting because I went from being the boo Cody guy to I get Cody now.
Yeah.
But it's
But it's been a little stale of late. I think the feud with the Factory did that.
It was ass.
Yeah. It was a bullshit feud.
Well, and the best stuff I've seen Cody do in AEW was the Darby Allin fight and things like that, which is episode 2 shit.
Yeah, and we need to watch the Cody versus Dustin match at some point from the first Double or Nothing that was just amazing. But yeah, he's just been a little cooled lately, and I think this feud is exactly what he needs to get back to the forefront. But yeah, could they maybe turn him heel? But Black is certainly being presented as a heel, but the fans love him. I would love to see a heel Cody, and I'm sure the crowd would too.
Yeah, no, I think that could be good,
But I don't know if they'll do it.
What if he helps the Elite in some bullshitty thing, because he's, obviously...
Well, he was a former member, too.
Yeah. So I think, he could maybe, you could turn him heel, have him lose to Malachi Black, which will happen.
I hope so.
Which one would hope? 90% chance.
I hope
and,
so.
And you could have him lose to that, have him fuck off, and then, go, fuck with the Elite thing. That could be some great fuel to the fire, especially if Hangman is going to lose it all out.
Yeah, and even on the other side, if he doesn't turn heel, he and the Elite have to cross paths at some point. They were together in New Japan and Ring of Honor and all that. They were kind of together when they all came here, but Cody's certainly gone his own way. But it has to happen. It's he and Kenny have to have a match at some point. He and Hangman have to have a match at some point.
And he loses to Malachi Black. Are we going to do a trilogy of matches? No. Let him go, be some sort of, especially that they have this big corporate arc going on. Let him join in on that. It will, add fuel to that fire and, just make that better, in my opinion.
Yeah. I doubt it's going to happen, but I'd like to see it. Yeah. And we get that match next week, which I'm sure should be really good, I hope.
Yeah, no, and also I'm excited for that.
Yeah, also Malachi Black fucking black mass kicked Fuego del Sol as he came out. He hammered him. Yeah. Went down like a sack of bricks.
Clocked.
And we get a promo from God's favorite champion, the Redeemer Miro, which, you're right, there is some green on the belt, the white TNT belt. Yeah. I didn't see any purple, but it's definitely got the green strip where it says champion.
Well, it almost looked like dark ordery colored.
Kind of does.
Almost, yeah.
But I think it looks sick. Not as tight as my original beautiful red one over there.
What does the sound go?
Yeah, we've heard that one many a times. But Miro just cuts a classic. He's kind of funny. I like him. I love this version of Miro compared to the Kip Sabian video game
I
bullshit.
do like the Zangief Miro.
Yeah,
is what I'm
talks
gonna call
about
him.
his wife being double jointed, and yeah, it's great.
So, what's his next fight again? Because
Lee Johnson.
he's gonna whoop his ass.
Smoke. Yeah.
Like-
So he hasn't really had like a legit challenger, but that's kind of what the TNT title has always been. It's an opportunity for kind of anyone to, get these shots.
Who do you think's gonna be his first legit challenger?
I don't know. I feel like they gotta have someone at All Out, but
He'd
I'm
be
not
like
sure.
like a Jungle Boy or
I mean, we've talked about Cage, but clearly
Cage.
that's not going to happen yet.
yeah, he's too mired in the FTW stuff. Like I think
Perhaps Christian, I don't know. He's winning a lot.
Yeah,
Like they've been touting that he's undefeated, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. I feel like they got to have a pretty big match lined up for All Out. Speaking of Christian and the Jurassic Express. Christian and the Jurassic Express defeat the Hardy family office consisted of Angelico, Isaiah Cassidy, and Mark Quinn of Private Party with Matt Hardy in 4 minutes, 40 seconds. Not a ton to say here. We're just sucking them down tonight.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. Not a ton to say about this match. It was quick. It was fine. It was fun.
I read one thing on TJRWrestling.net.
They're just really
Yeah.
putting them over
Yeah.
tonight, baby.
Well, yeah, exactly. Putting him over,
Yeah.
and actually, the term "putting him over" was
Yeah.
something that I didn't really understand before
Yeah.
this week. And so, like, in hearing you guys talking about that and then reading about that, like, now I get it.
Yeah, and I feel
Yeah.
like I've said it enough, but never really
Oh
explained
yeah.
it.
But now I get like what Matt Hardy's doing. It's all like putting him over.
Yeah.
Like that's sort of the Hardy family office's MO. Like in winning and in losing. So, I mean, like obviously, like Jungle Boy, like Luchasaurus was.
I was
one of
going
my
to say, that was the biggest note of the match is
Yeah.
how... So he's been hurt for a bit, but while they're pre-COVID, like he was so over with the crowd. Like everyone loved him. And it was nice to see him getting those chants again, and he hit that triple German suplex. But yeah, he's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and like this was my favorite match of his in a while.
Yeah.
But like this is like kind of in terms of me and my noob wrestlingness.
Yeah.
How I can like that's what Matt Hardy's kind of here for. He's sort of the fulcrum
Yeah.
to go all the way back to
Yeah.
episode 2 term.
Absolutely.
He's kind of putting these guys over, and I kind of understand what the role of a match like this is. Mm-hmm. Was the most interesting thing in the world.
But it was fine.
But yeah, it was fine, and I
I mean,
understood.
it was under 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
For what it was all right.
Yeah, and I understood the role of it.
Yep.
So.
And then after the match, we get a hooded person with a bit of a mask on coming and clocking Christian. And what do you know? It's our good friend the Blade with the old knuckle duster. I know you've got some things to say about this.
So, like, I'm tired of this asshole.
Your boy.
Yeah, like, I don't know. He just, like, Azar was like, oh, yeah, he's the type of guy who would, like, pour, like, cheap liquor into an expensive liquor container. And I'm like, oh, yeah, there's a stereotypical U of L fan, like that Matt Jones, who who owns OVW, talks about that is like, oh, yeah, and I know you've seen this fan at tailgate.
Oh, yeah.
Then they drink Crown Royal.
Oh,
and they
yeah.
smoke cool cigarettes.
Hell yeah.
And they're these like white dudes from the South End.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're wearing flat bills. Like, yeah.
Hell yeah.
And so like the Blade reminds me of one of those guys you'd see at tailgating who would like fight you at a moment's instance.
Yeah, he's a tool. The Butcher's way tighter. I'm guessing the Butcher's on tour with his band.
Yeah, with Every Time I Die.
Yeah, because he hasn't been around in a while, and I guess he could be hurt, but hopefully he comes back soon.
Which another like band touring thing that I realize is like Fozzie's going on tour.
Yeah.
So like
This is kind of always so Jericho will, he'll take a month off here, 2 months off there. So, but I know they've just been doing kind of one-off shows, but yeah, he'll miss a little time.
Gotcha.
And then we get a quick little Nick Gage video showing just the crazy maniac that he is, and then a Varsity Blondes promo with Julia Hart, which was fun. And then we have Thunder Rosa defeating Julia Hart in 4 minutes, 4 seconds. So it's like we have, all these kind of matches in the middle that are very kind of short and they're all fine, but, this was really a 3-match show, and it's unfortunate that the FTR Santana and Ortiz match ended the way it was. But again, this was fine. Thunder Rosa dominated. She got a great pop from the crowd.
Because this is her first match
officially
in
official,
AEW.
AEW match. And again, love to see that ovation because she's awesome. Always been one of our favorites. Julia Hart, I think she's like 19 or 20. Like, she's got a lot to learn, but she's fine. She's good enough to be out there and job out. And she did her fun little cartwheel into the clothesline, and she like cheers after she does a move, and it fits the vibe of what they're doing. But Thunder Rosa ends up putting her in a submission hold, hitting a drop kick in the corner, and the Thunder Driver, and that's it. And hopefully she will either face Britt Baker or potentially be in a number 1 contenders match at All Out, because we need to see her in more big matches. And then we got a great promo from Jon Moxley, who's got business in Tokyo, but his calls have been unanswered. And he calls out Tanahashi. Love it. Says he's been dodging him, and eventually says, screw you. And he sent a stack of contracts to Japan, so we'll see who comes that forbidden door. But whoever it is, there's nothing good waiting for him on the other side. And this has fueled speculation of a potential Moxley-Tanahashi match at All Out, which would certainly be tremendous.
Yeah, no, that seemed, at least from what I read online, like very solidified,
I mean, that would be amazing if it happened. But Azar brought up an interesting point. So Japan still has quarantine restrictions in place.
Yeah, with the Olympics.
So the G1 starts on September 18th. This match is on September 5th, shy of 2 weeks.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if maybe he would compete on the second day or what. But it's cutting it close. But again, all signs, I think Dave Meltzer even kind of said, this match is going to happen. So very exciting. And again, Tanahashi, 44 right now, but he's still, heard me mention it, he's had 2 5-star matches with Shingo this year. So the guy can fucking go, and it'll be a great match if this does happen.
Oh, yeah, it seemed very concrete from what I read,
So let's go in to the main event. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this one, where the Painmaker, Chris Jericho, defeats that greaseball Nick Gage in 13 minutes, 40 seconds in a death match. What did you think? Is this something that you enjoyed? Is it too much?
I actually enjoyed it a lot.
Good. I did too. I thought it was fun.
Like, I did enjoy it. It contrasted with what I read whenever people were like, Chris Jericho is above this.
Yeah.
They're like, he doesn't need to do like matches where he gets cut in the face with the pizza cutter and all this stuff. But like, for me, at least, from my relative lack of familiarity with his career and everything.
And I've never seen Nick. This is the first Nick
Really?
Gage match I've ever seen.
Oh,
Correct.
man.
I'm not. I don't really seek out the death match stuff. I've certainly heard of him, but I've never seen one of his matches. So
yeah, no, I thought like it had like some very good climactic moments, like
For
the pizza
sure.
cutter thing. Like immediately cuts him with the pizza cutter,
which goes
Like
immediately, and then ends up slicing him in the head, which goes immediately into a Domino's commercial as well. Not to jump ahead, but that
which Domino's
so
was
funny.
pissed.
Yeah, you'd mentioned that, but I just thought that was literally slicing him in the head with a pizza cutter and then immediately into the Domino's commercial.
Yeah.
And then also when we got back from the commercial, the pane of glass, which Gage was setting up with Jericho under it, and he ends up hurricane running him through the glass. I thought that was a cool moment. Gage ends up pile driving Jericho on the glass.
See, I wasn't super impressed with Gage because he was like, "Oh yeah, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna pull out these like fluorescent bulbs." It's just kind of like an escalation of brutality.
I mean, he did hit some wrestling matches in the beginning. I mean, he hit like a spine buster and like a Falcon Arrow at one point. But yeah, I mean, more than anything, he's just a weapons guy.
Oh yeah, well, it's just like, how much can we make Chris Jericho bleed in this match?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what we were teed up for, and that's what we got. And I honestly, I enjoyed that, like, for, like, what this is.
I did, too. Yeah, it's not something I want to see every week or every month, I don't necessarily, like I said, I don't seek it out, but I was entertained. I watch one every few months. That was fun.
Yeah, and, like, well, next match, I guess, do we want to go ahead and say what we're doing? Or what they're doing?
Well, Yeah, let's talk about the light tubes, though, because we didn't really... So, he gets out the light tubes, which he's known for. Jericho starts slamming Gage with Floyd, and... yeah, then the light tubes come out. I think he hammers one in the shoulder, and then he hits him in the head, and it starts bleeding a lot. I mean... You probably had never seen the light tubes before. Like, I feel like aesthetically it's really cool. Like, it looks great, because there's glass everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like a good, shattering material that's not going to be, fatal.
And it kind of turns into dust, but... Yeah. And then, real quick...
Well, and they're, big, long.
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah. I thought this was fun, too. But then, remember this match ended with... first Gage had what looked like an icicle, but just part of a light tube, and was jamming it, and it looks like a steak or a shank or whatever.
Oh, it was like Mox with the fork last week.
Yeah. But then it went into Jericho having the green mist in his mouth and spitting that on Gage, and then he hits him with the Judas effect.
Yes.
And that's it. And then there's one final CM Punk reference, as MJF says, "As you sit there in more pain than you've ever been in your life, I need you to listen to me," which isn't the exact verbiage, but very, very close, that CM Punk said to John Cena in his famous pipe bomb promo, which we will definitely have to watch sometime.
Yeah, I read about that this
week.
Loved
that. And basically he says, labor number 3, you have to hit a move off the top rope to win, and then he cues up a tape from last year where Jericho mentions something about Juventud Guerrera, and MJF's like, who? And somehow the third labor of Jericho is none other than Juventud Guerrera. Is this someone you remember from your time?
Not at all.
He would have been around 97, 98, 99, WCW.
And what I'm most interested in is obviously this match was bloody spectacle. For me, it's what's going to be more interesting? Is it going to be this, do you have to perform a wrestling move?
Yeah.
An actual wrestling move off the top rope to win.
Yeah, I don't know what... Well, I don't know...
I'm curious what's going to be more interesting to me.
Yeah, and I don't know what that exactly means either. What are the limitations? Is it a superplex? Is it a flipping move? Or is that end the match, or you just have to do that in order to pin them?
Yeah.
So let me just get this out.
Sure, yeah,
I loved Juventud in '98. He was this awesome luchador, and the cruiserweights in WCW were great. Loved that guy. Jericho actually beat him at Super Brawl in 1998 to unmask Juventud Guerrera. So they have that lineage.
Right.
I think this is a very curious choice. Juventud is 47. I mean, Jericho's 50, but it's he's been... I just looked up, he had a couple matches last year, a few in 2019, but had been largely out of wrestling for a long time. And yes, he's a bit of a name, and yes, he's a draw, and yes, I'm excited. Don't get me wrong, I'm very excited. It's going to be a ton of fun, and I'm sure it'll allow Jericho to kind of go back to his lucha roots to some degree, because a lot of his early career was in Mexico, but... Really? I'm just a little let down. That's the best they could do.
Well, I think the stipulations of this match were a little bit more interesting. What if Paul White is one of his...
That could be interesting.
Is one of his labors.
I mean, there's only one more, because MJF is the 5th. It's 4...
No, is it?
Correct.
Is that how it works? Okay.
Yes, it is 4 late, because everyone online was I saw a Reddit thing. Just to clarify, MJF is the 5th labor.
Gotcha,
and they have said that multiple times, as I am the 5th labor. So there's only one more after this.
But I think Paul White could be a good one, because that would be a good big v small.
And also they were WWE Tag Team Champions as well. Yeah. Jericho was their name. This was 2009, 10 era, when I started getting back in. So there's history there. That is very interesting. I do like that, but I just still wish Sammy would have been one of them. I feel like that's
the most interesting choice.
That would have been the best thing that could have happened. Yes. I mean, we didn't say Nick Gage, but we had called previously, I had mentioned it could be a mercenary type situation, like the Inner Circle had brought in Jeff Cobb last year. That was Gage. So... I don't know. Juventud, again, I like it. I'm here for it.
I would prefer Sammy.
But Sammy, if it went Sammy, Big Show, I would too. But Paul White will be good. And that's our show. And boy, this is going to be a long episode because Joe Koff is still coming on, and we don't want to shortchange him, but that's okay because it was an awesome show. And
yes, it was.
week after week now. You don't know who's going to show up or what's going to happen. And boy, wrestling is just awesome right now, especially in AEW. And we got Cody Aleister Black next week. And yeah, just the road to All Out is just going to be awesome.
Yeah, back to Dave's place is going to be fun.
Homecoming.
See ya.
Bye. All right, man. Well, you ready to check in with Greg? Give him a quick call here real quick.
Is he going to be mad if he expected to come on this show? Because we're at 2 hours already.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, we didn't tell him, we didn't promise anytime he was coming back on. It was more just, hey, we'll call you in 2 weeks. We'll see where we're at. So let's see where he's at. Let's see how he's doing.
Okay, I hope.
All right, let's give him a buzz.
Yep, you've reached Goldman.
Hey, Greg, it's Brett. How's it going?
Hey, Brett, how you doing?
Oh, I'm pretty all right, man. How have you been?
You know, been pretty all right, actually. Been a good past couple of weeks. Got some stuff done to care some stuff, you know?
Okay, good. Glad to hear it. Glad everything's working out. Hey, you're cool if Bo's on this call, right?
Hey, Greg.
Beaumont, hey, no, it's totally fine.
Good.
All right, well, how about that Goldman report this week?
Well, yeah, Greg, about that.
We got a really long episode this week, man. Dynamite's already run over an hour, and we got Joe Koff with Ring of Honor booked.
And yeah, when we did promise Joe back in March that we'd have him on, and we just kind of wanted to check in with you.
Yeah, so basically we just don't have enough time for you this week.
Yeah, Greg, we're sorry, but we just want to make sure you're doing okay, and we can try and figure out another time to bring you back. Greg, just listen. Hey, we're sorry that we can't get you on this week.
No big deal. It's no big deal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not a big deal at all.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's cool. I get it, man. Ring of Honor, that's some big time shit, boys. Well, not WWE big time, but it's still big.
Okay, great. Well, I guess we'll plan on bringing you back next week then.
No, that's my vacation.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, Greg. Bo's going to be out of town next week. Episode's a bit up in the air. Not sure what we're going to do yet. We may not have one, so don't really want to throw that at you right now.
Hey, no sweat about it. Life is like a steady flowing river, right, boys? You just got to let that water flow. What's so funny, Bo? I'm just kidding, man. Don't worry about it. I know 2 weeks ago I was a busted egg on a dirty kitchen floor, but I'm sunny side up now, boys.
Wow.
Well, Greg, that's just great. For real. I'm happy for you. We're happy for you, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, hey, man, it really, really seemed like those anger management classes worked. Glad to hear you're doing well. It's been good talking to you. But hey, let's shoot for 2 weeks from now, and we'll get the Greg Goldman report back in full force.
Hey, perfect. Whatever's cool with me.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, hey, man, take it easy. We'll be in touch. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, you too, Brett. Beaumont.
See you, Greg.
Later. Oh, shit. Wait, boys. You'll never guess who I met at fucking anger management.
I gotta go, man. Later.
Well, hey, how about that?
Yeah. How about that?
I mean, all indications are that actually worked. We'll see. I mean, I'll be honest, I was a bit skeptical about the whole anger management thing like you, but hey, I guess that's a little bit of proof right there.
Yeah, right. I mean, he held it together for the first time.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him.
All right. Before we bring in our good friend Joe Koff, we do want to at least bring up. We're recording this Saturday, and we recorded the bulk of the show that you just heard on Thursday. And on Friday, Dave Meltzer released a report saying that plans have changed, and Hangman Page is not supposed to be in the main event of All Out. So since we did spend so much time discussing it, at least wanted to bring that up. We're not going to get too much into it now, but it is a big piece of news. And just want to say, I guess just because it's a report doesn't mean it's necessarily going to happen, but very interesting kind of based on what we just talked about. And again, let's just kind of see how it plays out. Still have a ton of faith in them, but interesting booking to say the least.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Borderline illogical.
Borderline illogical, as our good friend Greg would say.
I guess the one thing that I'll kind of pose here is that, just like the CM Punk and Daniel Bryan stories that AEW has allowed to come out and fester and grow.
Seep through.
Yeah, seep through. Like, this is another one. It's like, if, they're going back on that, this story really takes kind of the wind out of the sails leading up to All Out, I think.
I agree.
So it's like, if they're going to go back on it, then why do it in the first place? So, just a little baffling.
Yeah, we'll see. You got to think that match is still going to happen at Full Gear. If it doesn't happen now, it still could happen now. We'll see. Regardless, like you said all along, it's the interesting decision. It's got us talking. It's got us guessing. And I think that's the most important part. And it's going to be a fun and wild ride no matter what. And again, adding CM Punk and Daniel Bryan to the mix, allegedly, is just going to do wonders for this company anyway. So, let's just strap in and enjoy the ride. And let's enjoy the ride with our old good friend, Mr. Joe Koff from Ring of Honor. Joe, it's been a while since we've heard from you, but we've had a busy summer, started doing some interviews, and you called us on our way home from Atlanta, and we told you then we want to do a Ring of Honor episode. And what the hell are we doing right now? We're doing a Ring of Honor episode, baby. It's good to have you, Joe.
Well, gentlemen, how the fuck are you?
Oh, man, I've been waiting for that since we got back from Atlanta.
Summer, yeah.
Yeah.
We're great. How are you, man?
I'm great, man. Just living the dream. We're getting fans back. Things are heating up. Life is good. So... And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that both Kenny Omega, although briefly, and Adam Hangman Page, we're both Ring of Honor stars.
Yes.
Along with CM Punk and Daniel Bryan / Bryan Danielson.
That is a great point, sir. Yes. And we will be talking about all of them. And I know we definitely want to get to the Ring of Honor Best in the World show that just happened in Baltimore with the fans. Of course, we're going to focus in on that. But before that, I think we really kind of want to just do a deep dive into relatively deep dive into the history of Ring of Honor, since Bo hasn't really seen much of it, but he's now experienced and seen and heard a lot of these names, even though some of the names are different in Ring of Honor than they are now where they're at. But you'll know a lot of these guys. And there's been so many great guys. We were just talking about it before. So let's just dive in. And at the end here, we're going to have our, if you recall, as we mentioned earlier in the show, the ladder war from Final Battle 2018 between the Briscoes, the Young Bucks, and SCU. So we'll get to that to close the show. But Bo, I know you kind of just had some, just general questions before we really dive into the history. So what do you want to ask our good friend here?
Sure. Hey, Joe. Obviously, nice talking to you. Been looking forward to this, as I said. Just Ring of Honor as a promotion. We've kind of dealt with, AEW mostly. We kind of veered over into WWE and, New Japan. I've watched matches and sort of learned a lot about that. Watching their matches in AEW, osmosis from you, Brett. So what makes Ring of Honor distinct as a wrestling promotion?
Well, what really makes Ring of Honor different is it's in the name. We do that's just not a cliche. It is the honor. We do want good sportsmanship, and we just wanted to bring wrestling back for wrestling fans. Obviously there's different aspects of wrestling that have a place, but just pure wrestling, which obviously is exhibited in our pure title, but bring the honor back to wrestling. not the chicanery and not the sports entertainment that you get with other companies. I'm not to throw in the shade, but, and it really just started to, Ring of Honor really, when it started back in 2002, was really just to fill that void that ECW left once ECW left. And a lot of people weren't, a lot of ECW faithful went over to Ring of Honor because they were not very happy with the product going on. So we just kind of tried to fill that void with pure actual wrestling.
So
keeping the honor in wrestling.
I was going to say, so like in the sense of in the ring, how does that sort of, like?
No, I completely understand what you're going. So like in the ring, we don't want run-ins every 10 seconds. We want people to actually do catch can wrestling, and things like that. And just not, do the storytelling in the ring. Yes, there's promos. Yes, there's backstage vignettes. But ultimately, what Ring of Honor wants to bring to wrestling is a story told in the ring.
And I love how you mentioned ECW, because Bo and I were talking before this. I'm like, both Ring of Honor and TNA, now Impact, both started in 2002 in the wake of WCW ending. But I like that you said ECW, because that also ended around the same time. And that's definitely more of that Ring of Honor hardcore type fan base.
Right.
TNA definitely kind of filled more of that WCW void, even with a lot of those same guys, Sting and Nash and Scott Steiner and all. So I just hadn't really thought about it like that, but I think that's a good way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, listen, we definitely kind of catered. ECW, it was definitely a quote unquote niche fan base, but they really enjoyed the storytelling aspect of ECW. And I think that's where we kind of swept in, and we're both based out of Philadelphia. So I don't think that is a coincidence. So I think if you've ever been to Philadelphia, it's a special kind of place that way. And they've got a special part for place in their hearts for wrestling. So.
Our friend Greg Goldman wouldn't like that. He would probably say "fuck Philly," but
you can't stand it.
Let's go to that first show here, February 23rd, 2002. The era of honor begins at the Murphy Recreation Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Yep. And this is another guy we talked about off air before we jumped on, but let's talk about Jay Briscoe, who was on this show and has really kind of been, it's a term Bo and I use a lot, a fulcrum of Ring of Honor. He's been there from the beginning. He's been a factor as a tag team, as a singles guy. And, from this first show, I'm looking through, I think he's probably the only guy still there, would be my guess. So let's talk about Jay Briscoe and, what the Briscoes have meant to the promotion as a whole.
I'm going to use a term that kids like to use, but in obviously I'm biased being a Ring of Honor guy. But I think Jay Briscoe could definitely be a GOAT. He might be one of the greatest of all times. Not only is he a 10-time Ring of Honor tag team champion, but he's a multiple-time, IWGP tag team champion, but also a 2-time World Ring of Honor championship. And one of those streaks is almost 2 years.
Wow.
Joe. When I say Joe. Jay Briscoe's been down since day one. He was down since day one, and he's been here. In light of everything going on, he's really good friends with the Young Bucks and also SCU, and a bunch of people have left. But both him and his brother, they bleed Ring of Honor blood.
Absolutely. And we'll talk more about that in that match where they bleed a lot of Ring of Honor blood with those two teams as well. So
were you sponsored by the American Red Cross during that match?
It might as well be. Yeah, multiple crimson masks. But yeah, it's just very interesting. I'm just looking through the card here on this first show that Jay is the only one and has been so important, like you said, both as a tag team with his brother Mark, as a singles wrestler. He lost in defeat to the Amazing Red on this show. Another interesting note in, I guess, the semi-main event was Luchador Super Crazy defeating Eddie Guerrero, who I didn't know until somewhat recently was on this first Ring of Honor show for the IWA Puerto Rico International title. So that's an interesting tidbit that I'm sure many people don't know. And in the main event, a three-way dance with Low Key defeating the American Dragon, who was Daniel Bryan Bowe, who went on to be Bryan Danielson in AEW, and Christopher Daniels, who we've seen in AEW and was a member of SCU. So, and those are definitely three key guys, you know, specifically in the early days of Ring of Honor, but Christopher Daniels, you know, on and off for 15, 16 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, besides Jay Briscoe, I think Christopher Daniels is probably one of the most important people in Ring of Honor. I mean, he may have gone other places, but he always kept his foot in Ring of Honor. And, I mean, he was here till the day he wanted to hang it up.
Yep.
You know, obviously he's gone on to bigger and better. I went to better things, but he's gone on to different things. 16 years. That guy gave it all. I mean, he was in the first main event, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, yes, Jay Briscoe is definitely one of the GOATs, but people underestimate Mark Briscoe, and the only reason he wasn't on that show is because in the Pennsylvania Sports Commission, wherever it is, technically he wasn't old enough to wrestle.
Interesting.
Is the only reason he wasn't also on that show.
Interesting.
But he was there. You know, he seconded his brother on there. But I mean,
what was he, like 17 at the time or something?
Yeah, he was like he was 16, 17 at the time. So
wow.
You know, and they both have successful businesses, but they still you know keep with Ring of Honor.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned Daniels too. Was such an important figure. Didn't even become Ring of Honor World Champ until about 2015, like pretty late in his run there. And then he ended up losing it to Cody, right? At that point.
Yeah.
It
was it was good to see him as champ. It was a great moment. So.
Oh, I bet, you know, at that time, like having the career that he had to finally win that belt, I'm sure was quite the moment.
Yeah, and people talk about Jericho all the time, wrestling so well at 50. When people sleep on Christopher Daniels, he's the same age and just as great. So
absolutely. Well, let's talk about a few of the others from the earlier day. I mean, we're going to get into some more Danielson, especially, you know, he and CM Punk both, who we just mentioned, are both likely headed to AEW. I mean, both major factors here. Like, you know, I was kind of coming up with a list of matches that I've seen, and most of it seemed to be pre-2010, as I really in the pandemic with my buddy Azar, who I believe you've maybe interacted with before, Joe. You know, we got real into some Ring of Honor, some Impact TNA, some All Japan and Noah, like all this wrestling stuff that we hadn't really ever watched in the pandemic, and we just lasered in. So that's when I started really discovering guys like the Briscoes and Davey Richards, who we're definitely going to talk about, and just finally seeing some of these matches. And you know, Austin Aries, who I knew, but watching some of his Ring of Honor stuff, and Nigel, like some of that. Let's just talk Nigel and Bryan Danielson real quick, because I mean, we can just go on and on about all of this stuff. But let's go. Just go ahead.
You know, I'm
like,
what
can you say? What can you say? You know,
I mean, I don't think that might be the most intense rivalry in Ring of Honor history, if not wrestling history in general.
Yeah.
I mean, those two beat each other from pillar to post all over the country for years. You know, and some of the younger fans just know Nigel from an announcer, but man, that boy could work.
So I remember it was when I first read Daniel Bryan's book. Actually was able to meet him and get it signed, which was a pretty cool experience. But that was, again, before I really had opened up beyond WWE as a wrestling fan. Like, I was aware of Ring of Honor, hardly even aware of New Japan at that point. This was probably like 2015, 16. And I read his book, and he talked so much about Nigel McGuinness and like how these are the best matches he'd ever had of his career. And I'm like, what? I'd never even heard of this guy. And again, it probably was in the last year and a half. Still had never seen a Nigel match. You know, he was announcing on NXT, and I loved his work as an announcer, but really have started digging into his matches the last year and a half. And the frosted tips hairstyle aside, man, that motherfucker can work. And I just love watching him. Just last night, I watched a world title match he had against Kenta. which was the one right before he dropped the belt to Jerry Lynn. And I think
I was actually just going to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he had the belt for 525 days or something.
It was ridiculous. I mean, it got to the point where we had to glue them back together. We had to tape them back together. But
it was,
I was
a bicep injury, right?
Yep. Yeah. But that man gave his all. And he really took that championship and made it his own. And I was actually going to recommend that. It might be one of my favorite moments that you mentioned previously is actually when Jerry Lynn, a journeyman, who was popular in
ECW guy. Yeah.
But they never really made him the man, but so underrated.
Yep. From Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yep. Those Midwesterner guys. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually tried to find that match last night as well and couldn't find it, which is why I opted for Nigel and Kenta. There was a different Nigel Jerry Lynn match, I think maybe from earlier in the title reign that I could find, but yeah, and we are, the Nigel Daniel Bryan feud. Like I go to cagematch.com just to find matches and it's nice because they'll have ratings and whatnot, and they're not the end all be all, but it's a nice barometer. And you look at just the ratings of the matches between Bryan Danielson and Nigel McGuinness. It's just 9 is a nice benchmark, and they have 8 matches that are above 9. And I don't know if anyone else has that. And again, some of them, they're not the easiest to find online, but I think I've seen 2 or 3 of them in just technical masterpieces, just wizardry of selling, and just, some of the best shit I've ever seen. And, and now kind of getting into more holistic wrestling, I'm not going to disagree. It probably is one of the top 5-10 wrestling rivalries of all time for sure.
Yeah. Nigel brought his British strong style, and Danielson really just pretty much invented American strong style.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can't even put it into words, to be honest with you. I wish I was better prepared, but
well, and again, we're going to see some of that Bryan Danielson, as I'm sure he'll probably be known in AEW. And again, he's aged a little bit, but we know he can still go. And, getting him to mix it up with the likes of, Kenny, Hangman.
Yeah.
There's so many people. Ray Phoenix, Pac, Andrade, Malachi Black. Exciting times ahead. But
Andrade and Danielson, I think, would be I'm just gonna say the other company may have fucked up on that one. So
yeah. Hey, Bo, you got any questions? Anything you'd like to drop in at this point? We're gonna get to Jim Cornette soon.
Oh boy, no, not particularly. I've just been enjoyed sitting back and just sort of learning about this kind of slice of wrestling history with these people. I like this Nigel guy. I feel like him and the Danielson fight need to be an if you recall thing. Because at a seminal point in their feud. Because that's something with which I'm not familiar. Until now.
I think when and if Danielson officially comes to AEW, we'll certainly put that on tap for it if you recall. But 2 guys we haven't mentioned yet, Joe, who were embroiled in their own little rivalry. Not even little, huge rivalry. Samoa Joe and CM Punk had a famous trilogy of matches, I believe, while Joe was the champ. 2 60-minute draws, back-to-back 60-minute draws, and then Joe finally bests Punk in the third match that I think it's about 35 minutes. That's the only match I've seen. I want to watch the 60-minuters. I think you can find one online, but tell us about those 2 guys.
Just amazing. And it was, when CM Punk started with Ring of Honor, he was, I want to say, I'm not a scared little kid, but just watch that guy really build himself as he got more confident was amazing to see. And CM Punk is just a CM Punk turned up to 13. Yeah. That's just who he is, turned up to 13. And him and Joe were magic. A lot of times you watch a 60-minute match and you're getting bored, you go to the bathroom, you get something to eat. But you watch those first 2 matches and you are glued to your TV the entire time because you're it's a masterpiece. And Samoa Joe, you look at the guy, you wouldn't think he could go 60 minutes, but I bet you if they asked him, he would have done under 60 minutes right there and after if they had to.
He's a freak. And I'm, not to get off topic, but I'm excited he's back and medically cleared to wrestle.
Yep.
And will be wrestling Karrion Kross. Very exciting. And yeah, you mentioned CM Punk. So first off, the match. So he doesn't end up winning the title off Joe, but he does end up getting it from Austin Aries in a great match I've seen multiple times. And then doesn't he end up turning heel and kind of turning on the crowd before he leaves to go to WWE?
Yeah, he did. Him and Tyler Black, Seth Rollins, went heel and just he really played up that angle very, very well, and he did a great job going out the door, putting people over and putting butts in seats, and really buying into the fact that he was turning into this corporate asshole.
Yeah, and
it was fun to watch.
You mentioned his confidence, and I got, after about an 8-year layoff, I got back into wrestling in 2009, and he won the Money in the Bank at WrestleMania, which is when I really started watching, and we had the Summer of Punk on SmackDown 2000, and he was just incredible. Started, the straight edge gimmick, huge rivalry with Jeff Hardy. So I just want to say, I credit him as a major, major reason for being the wrestling fan I am today. And you really saw him gain that confidence in WWE up to 2011 in the pipe bomb. And then when he finally won the belt off John Cena in that crazy angle, which is going to be another future, if you recall, Bo, because that's probably a top 10 match all time for me. But yeah, and now having gone back and watched CM Punk's Ring of Honor stuff, and I want to see some of his Chris Hero matches, even before that, but I've heard are crazy. But yeah, the guy's fucking incredible. He's still only 38, 39, 40. He's not that old. He's been off for several years. Yeah, he did the UFC thing for a little bit, but if he's really coming to AEW and he's going to be fresh and ready to go and have just a new crop of talent to face, and I just can't fucking wait.
Yeah, CM Punk, I give him a lot of credit for a lot of the success we had in the 2010s because really he was not your typical WWE guy.
Oh, no.
And they hadn't seen anything like a push like that for anybody like him since the Rascals. So with Chris Benoit and Rey Mysterio. Yep. And then what he did in there, people were like, wait, this guy's wrestled before? And that's where a lot of people started to flood to Ring of Honor. Like, oh, yeah, he may be great in WWE, but he did all this stuff here too. And that really brought a lot of eyes on our product, which I am always very, very grateful for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I just pulled up the list of champions and just want to make sure we at least mention everyone. Xavier. I don't know too much about him. Earlier name.
Yeah.
James Gibson, who was Jamie Noble, right?
Yep, correct.
Had a great, who would have thought, that's something I didn't know until kind of digging, is how good that guy was, because he was presented in a certain way on WWE. It could still wrestle, but it's like, wow, this guy's had some pretty fucking good matches.
Right.
Homicide, who I know has been affiliated a lot with Eddie Kingston. I think they're boys. He's someone I've not really seen much of. So what do you got about Homicide here?
Homicide, once again, Homicide is just himself turned up to probably 14. He's also half of the current Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. I don't know if you knew that or not. So
no, with who?
No,
with Chris Dickinson, this new stable, Violence Unlimited, which I am a huge fan of. But yeah, he is currently, he's back and he's full Homicide mode.
Hell yeah, and
I
know
he has not lost a step.
Heck yeah, isn't Brody King in that group too?
Yep, Brody King and then Tony Deppen.
Because I know and King and Dickinson just lost to the Good Brothers in the Impact or the New Japan Strong tournament that they had.
Yeah, final, it's bullshit, but that's another story itself. But
Takeshi Morishima coming over from Noah. We don't need to get too much into him. Aries gets his second title. Tyler Black, you mentioned him a bit ago, who became Seth Rollins, who, Bo, you remember. I mentioned again to you off air. But just last night, I watched the pretty famous Tyler Black, Davey Richards match, Death Before Dishonor. Can't remember if it was 10 or 11, but it went about 35 minutes. Black is the champ. Yep. The crowd had turned against him. We've got Jim Cornette on commentary, so we'll get into him here in a sec. And Davey Richards, man, that's another guy, a name that I'd always heard so much. but never saw until literally this year, I think, are the first Davey Richards matches I watched. The first was the American Wolves, he and Eddie Edwards against Danielson and Tyler Black in a tag match that was just fucking nuts. I think it was like a 45-minute time limit draw. Yeah. And just that guy is a bulldog. His relentlessness. You mentioned the Dynamite Kid off air. Like, he's short, stocky, but he's just a ball of intensity. And like the 4 matches of his I've seen, I love him. And I know, didn't he recently make a comeback into MLW?
Yeah, he's back in MLW. And he's made some spot appearances here and there. He was recently at Warrior Wrestling, actually wrestled Jonathan Gresham.
Okay. Were you at that show, Joe?
I was at that show.
Okay. So, I know you travel to Warrior Wrestling to do some scouting sometimes. Yeah.
I had to make sure my boy, Gresham ended up going over. Sorry, spoiler alert, everyone there. But Davey Richards, took a break, just need to get his head right and everything. But he's intensity personified for sure. Yeah, every ounce of that guy's body is to dedicated professional wrestling. So
he's a wolf, and maybe it's him I saw that's 38 and like had a break. CM Punk is I think 42, just to go back to that. But so I want to make sure we still have enough time to talk current Ring of Honor, the show you were at, and just kind of the future. But again, have to at least start mentioning these names of kind of the 2010 and beyond, and we can dig in a little, but it's all mostly people we know and have talked about on this show before. But Tyler Black, Roderick Strong, who we saw at NXT and is now back leading the Diamond Mine faction. Eddie Edwards, Davey Richards, who we just talked about, the American Wolves, Kevin Steen, who is Kevin Owens' beau.
Oh, okay.
Which I just love him. I just watched that match with Davey Richards last night where he won the belt. Adam Cole, I believe the only 3-time Ring of Honor champion. Is that correct, Joe? So, now we're starting to get into the guys, Jay Lethal, Kyle O'Reilly. I skipped over Michael Elgin. It's just a fucking great list here. Before we get to Christopher Daniels, Cody, Dalton Castle, and then into the Roosh, Matt Taven, PCO, Bandido. So, what do you get? Let's talk briefly just about kind of the Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, the undisputed era of Ring of Honor, so to speak.
And don't forget Bobby Fish in there.
Yes.
I know Bobby Fish wasn't a champion, but watching those guys develop was amazing. And their chemistry, especially O'Reilly and Cole, the chemistry those guys had was just magic. Everything they did, it was stiff, it was snug, and it was great to fun. And man, they could tell a story.
Which we're seeing on NXT right now. They've had 2 wonderful matches this year.
Yeah, it's been great to see, and just those kids poured and when they were here, they gave it their all. They definitely put the honor in Ring of Honor.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, just real quick, Beaumont, if you get a chance, check out anything from 2009 to 2020 or 2012. Anything to do with Kevin Steen and fucking Ring of Honor is wrestling gold.
Yeah, well, I have to, because his matches, I think in WWE when we were there with was it Sami Zayn? Was that his big rival? Yeah. No, those were some of my favorite things we watched.
They had that ladder war match. I think it might have been 2012.
Okay,
Joe, that's a pretty crazy one, but before we get into the Best in the World show in Baltimore and kind of current Ring of Honor, there is one more guy I want to talk about who's part of current Ring of Honor, but to bridge. And that's Jay Lethal, because I know he's been such an important guy to this promotion in the last, 5, 6, 7 years. So talk to me a little bit about Jay Lethal.
Jay Lethal, a lot of people obviously know him as the world champ, but what people don't realize is he really put that Ring of Honor TV title into prominence. Because for a while, he actually held both titles. And he was a workhorse. He took that TV title very, very seriously. Another guy yes, he's gone to other places and he probably could go to greener pastures, but that man still bleeds, Ring of Honor blood, as evidenced at Best in the World, which we'll get into. But Jay Lethal, listen, the thing about him is I most remember is really taking that TV title, which was always kind of a secondary BS title people didn't really care about, and really brought it to prominence.
Hell yeah.
yes, he's had great world title runs. He's had great tag team runs. But yeah, what he did as TV champ, that was right around the Sinclair deal and everything. Just really kind of putting spotlight on Ring of Honor, and that I'm very, very thankful always. So.
Hell yeah. You mentioned best in the world. Let's get to it. Let's talk a little current Ring of Honor, and then we'll get to our If You Recall review. So, best in the world, July 11th, 2021, at the Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena. That's a mouthful. In Baltimore, Maryland. Joe, what was it like just being there and being amongst the fans and having that energy in the building for this show?
I can't put it into words. I mean, after obviously 2020 was not the year that people expected, but just the fans were on fire. People were so happy just to have Ring of Honor back. And there's people from all over the place. I mean, I saw, Matt Taven had his little fan club there. I saw these homemade Brian Johnson shirts, the Mecca Brian Johnson. If you ever need a good promo to watch anything to do with Brian Johnson.
I'm not familiar with him.
Brian Johnson the fact that the Briscoes did not kill him, but you cut the promo at the beginning. It's the curtain jerker. It's PJ Black, and also a former WWF star.
Yeah,
and Brian Johnson.
He was Justin Gabriel.
Justin Gabriel, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And PJ Black had been kind of taking, Brian Johnson under his wing, but he'd been hurt for a while, so he'd been kind of out of the loop for a while, and then they came back and. Brian Johnson cut the promo on the Briscoes family that I was scared for his life. It was, it was amazing. But yeah, I ran into a bunch of fans there that I guess they were Brian Johnson's their dog walker or something, but they all made these fancy like homemade Brian Johnson shirts.
How about that?
There was a big section of Fanhausens there.
Yep,
I don't know if you guys never wear a Danhausen or not.
I'm familiar with Danhausen. I've never seen him wrestle, but I've certainly seen him, and I know who he is.
I do not actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was even outside, and this guy came up to me with a Hawaiian T-shirt and a visor, so he came all the way from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So that really kind of touched me too. So I mean, just fans from all over the place it was great to have in the building. What
was the energy like in that building on that night?
It was top notch. I mean, people were cheering. I don't know why we had seats because people were standing the whole time. I mean, it was a technicality, and you could totally tell the performers were definitely feeding off that energy.
Absolutely.
So a lot of these guys were relatively new, hadn't been in front of a Ring of Honor crowd before.
Yeah.
And they are notoriously rambunctious, and they definitely kept up with their reputation this time. So
excellent. So I had hoped to watch some of this show before today, but I was unable. I know it got, people liked it. Pretty good reviews overall. It looked like a pretty good card. I know the main event saw Bandito defeating Roosh to win the Ring of Honor World title for the first time. New champ. So just talk us through, that match and just some of your other favorite matches and moments of the night.
So Bandito he's relatively new with Ring of Honor. He had been with Mexi Squad, but he's kicking and clawing, and he won that survival of the fittest to get this shot. And it was great to see a guy's hard work like that be rewarded, especially with, he's facing Roosh and all of his minions. So, that's always a tough time, but his mask almost got ripped off, and he still ended up winning the match. And beating Roosh, who's been champion. Yes, there's been a pandemic, but he's always been a fighting champion. He's been a champion for well over a year. And it was a great way to cap off the evening.
Roosh is not someone I've seen before, but he's brothers with Dragon Lee, correct? And he runs what's the organization called? I know it's similar to LIJ in New Japan.
Los Faction Ingobernables.
Which Naito started LIJ off of
with Roosh,
which is very cool. But Bandito is someone I've seen a good amount of, and his 2019 Best of the Super Junior match against Will Ospreay is a great one. And famously, Juice Robinson was on commentary for that and was just so good. And after that, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to need a cigarette after that match." It was just, as Bo likes to say, it was a very flippy match between those two.
Was that? No, we watched. No, it was Ospreay and Archer.
You've not seen Bandito, but
So I know we mentioned Dragon Lee. He was on this show, winning back the television championship against
from
Tony
Tony Deppen.
Deppen, who I've not seen Tony Deppen either.
Tony Deppen is just, I mean, he's teamed up with Violence Unlimited, and that dude is very much in the Davey Richards vein, just